Somehow I ended up in quarantine again. And as we know from history, quarantine is the perfect time to learn new skills. For example, Mike and Furl got bored during quarantine and started an amazing podcast. John got bored during quarantine and created a new roommate named Potatoin to replace Owen after he failed to take the trash out that one time. Friggin' trash boy. And then Potatoin got bored in quarantine and went through radical puberty. And historically, Isaac Newton got bored in quarantine and discovered the laws of gravity, the laws of motion, and frickin' calculus. Ross and I got bored during quarantine and we also learned a new skill. That's right, we learned to juggle in order to impress the ladies. And as you can see, it went very well, if I do say so myself. Hello, this is Ryan the Rat here, and welcome to Rat Time, the show where we just finished up our Christmas and winter break, and we have returned to school. My break kinda sucked, not gonna lie. Most of the people I was gonna hang out with either got the Rona or were exposed to the Rona. So I didn't really do anything over break other than go to work at the large retail store. Yes, this is the large retail store where my pants got a huge rip in them as I was talking to a girl who I had a crush on at work. Yes, this is a large retail store where I found a turd in the middle of the aisle that I then had to clean up. And yes, this is the large retail store where my ex-girlfriend, who hasn't spoken to me in over 2 years, by the way, decided to send me a text asking me for a favor to buy her a PS5 worth more than my entire paycheck because she couldn't find one in the store she went to. So yeah, break wasn't all that great, but at least I was able to give some good gifts. Except I'm kinda too poor at this point in my life to afford good gifts for people, so I got my friends the things that they've always wanted. Good memes! Which in my opinion are absolutely priceless. So I went on to Christmas Picto Chat, a group chat older than Rat Time itself, and started spreading joy to the world, baby! A few highlights include Minecraft complimenting my hair, the return of the chairman, the time I wrongfully tried to drink something other than Diet Coke, my good twin Ryan Smith's female variant, Jeremy giving out the best Christmas gift, and Mike's reaction to said Christmas gift, a self-deprecating roast about the 4 chairs I've broken this year, and the post-Christmas depression you get when PictoChat comes to an end. Boy, it was lit like a Christmas tree. Speaking of things lit up like a Christmas tree, we have the Poopster's dashboard at the time it died. Yep, that's right. Unfortunately, my baby, my love, and my glorious Poopster is no longer with us. After so many years of never once failing to get me to where I needed to go, she breathed her last. Her funeral was last week, but I wanted to share a few words about her. The Poopster was a mess. She was given the name the Poopster because my parking spot at home was under a maple tree. And because of that, sap would rain down upon her so she would look brown, and bird poop would rain down upon her so she smelled bad on the outside, and I had some dirty clothes inside her at one point so she smelled bad on the inside. And then one day when I went to give Jaren a ride, he deemed her the Poopster, and the name has stuck ever since. Since receiving and living up to her namesake, she has endured a lot. She failed every single e-check we brought her to, at least twice. She slid on ice into a curb once, which completely destroyed 2 of her tires. She was once hit on the side by a snowplow, putting a massive hole in the side of her, which has been used as a urinating spot for multiple individuals. She has been rusting really badly in some spots for years. When Jeremy drove her that one time, he backed into a rock and oofed her bumper off, meaning that she's quite literally been held together by duct tape for several years now. She has been spat on multiple times by individuals who have disrespected her and gotten gum stuck to her. And in her last days, she made a very loud and obnoxious sound anytime I drove her anywhere, which sounded like she was screeching in pain and awaiting the sweet release of death to set her free from the torture. And that's barely scratching the surface of all her issues. But through it all, she never failed me. And she's also given me so many memories, both good and bad. She was the location of my first kiss, which was absolutely terrible, by the way. So there I was 14 years old, and there was this girl at my church, and she was the only girl at my church who was somewhat close to my age, so I figured she must be made for me. So we started dating, and I had her over for lunch one day, and because we couldn't drive ourselves, it came time to bring her home, and Daddy Dave brought her home in the Poopster. When we got to her house to drop her off, she kissed me on the cheek, and my 14-year-old self was just like, "It's time!" And I went in to give her a little peck so that I could say I kissed a girl. But as I was doing so, she grabbed the back of my head and shoved her tongue down my throat. I was so freaking scared, man. Now I tried to back off and get away from this, but she grabbed the back of my head and pushed me further into her so I couldn't escape. It was awful, but somehow it gets worse. When I finally escape, she asks me if I could walk her to the door, and I say yes. When we get to the door, she has the audacity to say, "Ryan, that kiss really wasn't all that great. I just didn't feel like you had any passion at all. Now for next time, what you need to do is put your hand like this and start practicing like this. It works, I promise!" And then she went inside. I went back to the Poopster, and then Daddy Dave and I drove home in silence. It was terrible. As for the girlfriend, we broke up soon after because I accused her of cheating on me, and now she's married to the guy she told me not to worry about. But don't worry, most of my Poopster memories are so much happier than that. Like doing a couple's costume with her for the church trunk or treat one year, or her watching my friendship with Mike blossom as we launched off bottle rockets together, and taking her for a hike where Noonan slipped in the mud so he looked like he pooped himself. But then I was making fun of him and then slipped in the mud too. And that time Jaren and I drove to Niagara Falls and back together, listening to Pink Floyd the whole time, and Jaren slept. The Poopster and I just had so many great adventures with so many great people. And because of that, I've asked a few of my friends to share a few words in her memory.
The Poopster.
The Poopster.
What more can we say? You've treated us well, sometimes not so well.
As much as you could. I mean, there wasn't much you could do.
To the Poopster, I'm gonna miss you, baby girl. We had a lot of good times together. Me sitting in your passenger seat, putting on your seatbelt so sensually,
Pissing on your steering wheel.
Hit the curb because he saw a bird.
Rat looking at birds, but I named the Poopster. I was the one who gave it its name. Go Vikes, I miss you, Poopster.
I'll miss that feeling of near death I have every time I enter you. I'll miss the enjoyment I get from peeing on you, from watching others pee on you, and I'll miss my beloved twin be so happy inside you. Rest in pieces.
Yeah.
But Poopster, I am sorry when I kicked your mirror off.
I'm sorry
I called for.
I'm sorry I peed on you that one time in high school. I'm so sorry. I wasn't the only one.
Ryan constantly said that he loved her, despite the fact that he continued to call her the Poopster, which I think is very degrading. Even though I will not be able to recognize Ryan's new car from the glory hole or the flimsy piece of duct tape hanging off from it, I will still be glad I have my own car to drive myself places, because there is nothing worse than being driven by someone from Ohio. May the Poopster's memory be a blessing in car heaven. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, amen.
Although she's not with us. No. Sure, it's in progress. I'm sorry, I can't believe she pooped out.
You lasted longer than my car, the tow. And I'm just so impressed with your strength and vigor and just the willingness to take us from point A to point B.
Yeah, definitely. You're a tank. You made it through how many of Rat's accidents?
4 or 5?
Yeah.
A Poopster who was enjoyed by all, who outlived the likes of the Toaster, the Tow, and Pat's Green Kia. It has seen cars finished from Deers to Lake Trans, while herself has preserved through snowplows and gerunds. May you think of her when you read the Bible she ran over, and may she rest in peace.
I can't believe the Poopster's dead.
Psych! No.
I will forever miss you, my Poopster. But now it's time to begin this semester, where I deal with a huge stack of books that I have to read cover to cover, and residents who hang things like this monstrosity on their wall, and do things like put wet floor signs in my bed, which has some implications that I'm not very fond of. But on that note, thank you for watching this good vlog. We hope to see you next time on Rat Time. This is Ryan the Rat, signing out. This Rat Time is very special to me because it's the first Rat Time with a live studio audience. Look! Oh man!